taking time for your health. The African American Wellness Watch. Trusted information for us, by us. Dr. Mike Lenore and other experts from around the country and around the world have the latest on how you and your family can get healthy and stay well. It's time for the African American Wellness Watch. Welcome to the Wellness Watch. I'm your moderator, George Strait. Well, summer is here and we're outside in the sun a lot more, but is our skin and our hair ready for it? Well, if not, we're going to get you ready. Dr. Mack is here. Dr. Melanie Macklin, star of stage, screen, and everything that has to do with Black skin and hair care. Dr. Mack, it's an absolute pleasure to have you with us.
Oh, it's absolutely a pleasure to be, and I'm excited for the opportunity. And Mr. George, I'm ready to rock and roll and share some great wellness tips for your audience.
Perfect. Okay, so where do we start? It's summer. We're out in the sun. Let's talk about suntan lotion first, right?
Oh, first and foremost, that is the most important thing because it's sunny outside. The sun is emitting these lovely ultraviolet rays. We usually say UV for short. There are UVA rays, which I say A for aging. And then there's UVB rays, where those are rays that emit a shorter wavelength, and those can cause more burning, hence skin cancers. So no matter I think, George, the myth out there is that if you have a darker skin complexion, that you don't need ultraviolet protection, you don't need sunscreen. Well, that's an absolute myth. We all do, no matter if you're skin type 1, which is of the lightest skin type, or skin type 6, which is of the darkest tone. Regardless, George, we need the sunscreen. And we need to look for suntan lotions, sunscreens, we call it, with an SPF, which stands for sun protection factor. And we need to look for ones that are at least a minimum of 30. By the American Academy of Dermatology, we recommend at least 30, especially during the summer hot months. You may be able to get away with more of a SPF 15 in the winter months and so forth. But the 30 is that's 30 times more protection that you're getting when you're outside. Mm-hmm. And wanting to look for a broad spectrum, meaning
what does that mean?
Broad spectrum meaning our ultraviolet rays are ultraviolet A, ultraviolet B, ultraviolet C. So you want to have something that has a broad spectrum that's going to cover all those bases. Honestly, George, even the fluorescent lighting where we sit in our office spaces, that's a form of ultraviolet radiation. And we don't think about it because, of course, none of us have really been educated on it. And that's what I'm here to do. But yes, that's why it's critical year round, because in some capacities in your office space, you're under these fluorescent lighting. So SPF of at least 30, and you want to slather that on every day.
So if you, I guess what you're saying is that we need to put that on in the morning before we go out. Now, suppose we go out and we start to sweat, or we go to the beach, that kind of thing. How often does it have to be reapplied?
No, that's a great question because that's very critical. If you're outside, you're swimming or you're sweating, you're going to be more prone for that sunscreen to dissipate and not be as effective. So get in the habit to reapply about every 2 hours, especially if you're in and out of water and heavy sweating. So that was a very important question that you asked. So on a day-to-day basis, you want to wake up and cleanse your face, and you want to apply a moisturizer with SPF. So that's very important.
And if you go to the gym and sweat a whole bunch, even if you don't go to the beach, maybe you ought to do it after your shower, right?
Absolutely. Once again, the skin color doesn't matter. You still are prone to the ultraviolet damage that can go on. And it's a cumulative thing, George. I mean, as the years go on, the more and more that you get have more sun exposure, it's a built up sort of thing. And so your skin cells are constantly, as they're getting exposure to the ultraviolet, they're going to constantly stay and damage, and even damage deeper into the skin.
You know, you talk about folks not paying attention to that message.
Yes,
I'm guilty.
I guess we say join the club.
Right, exactly. I mean, I've had a couple of those things, and they had to be removed. I mean, it wasn't a big deal, but it was stupid. If I had listened to my wife, it wouldn't have happened. But I guess I'm like too many black men who don't listen to their wives.
Better start happy wife, happy life.
No, but if you've got a little splash on your face or your back or your ears, what should we look for
Yes.
that may be problematic?
Yes, no, actually, that's a great question because oftentimes we will just say, "Oh, here's a mole," and we just bypass it, or this is something on the skin. I always say start with at least snapping a picture of whatever that you see that may look strange, because that's great when you go to your doctor. But we think of it as like the A, B, C, D. A for something asymmetrical, meaning if you draw a line down the middle of it, does it look equal or unequal on both sides? B for the borders. Is the border crooked or is it smooth border? If it's crooked, there's likely something strange is happening there. And then C for color. Are there variations of black, brown, red? Those are signs. If there's multiple mixed colors, that's a problem potentially as well. And then D is for the diameter. How big is this area? Is it growing in size? But these are all things that a person needs to be aware of and certainly go and see their dermatologist, specifically a dermatologist board certified that can look at these lesions. You know, you may be able to show your regular internal medicine doctor, whatever, but you want to go to a specialist, a dermatologist. We have a trained eye for looking at these sort of things, and make sure you snap those pictures because what you may have seen earlier may look different to when you going to actually get that appointment, because sadly it takes about sometimes 2 to 3 months to get an appointment with a clinical board certified dermatologist.
That's true. So let's talk about overall skin care and hair care, given the summer months, like moisturizers and that kind of thing. And I know that you talked an awful lot about what the sun not only can do to your skin but also to your hair.
Oh yes. The sun, hair is a skin appendage, is what we call it. So it's still an external sort of application of the skin, and it needs ultraviolet protection as well. There's a lot of, if you know you're going to be in that hot sun, especially from the hours of 10 to 4 a.m., 4 p.m., I'm sorry, those are the hottest heat index, the prime rays of the ultraviolet spectrum. So, there's some hairsprays that have the ultraviolet protection in there. Of course, hats are a great option. You want to look for wide brim hats. The ones that have a lot of straw or woven sort of, the rays are going to get right through those sort of, that sort of fabric. So the wide brim hats, and also you want to make sure that, I know, George, a lot of times women, when we go on these lovely vacations, we want to go and get braids. And braids, that's great. It's an easy, no maintenance. You're going to the beach and, we can flop around the braids or whatever. But the braids actually can trap in not only the chlorine from the pools, the sand, just environmental elements. And so it's getting trapped in that braid. So if your hair is braided in the braid, your hair is going to have some of that debris that's going to be trapped in there. And so it's going to be tough for it to be really thoroughly washed out. So even though the braids seem easy maintenance for these lovely vacations, they may be counterproductive, because when you go home and you get the braids taken out, you may have a lot of external hair damage and breakage can go on. So you have to really be cautious about that type of style that's trapping a lot of the sand and the chlorine and the like.
So what about moisturizing during the summer months? Because you go out and you sweat a little bit, but that's not really moisturizing your skin. So I would guess that during the summer months, you've got ashy elbows and ashy knees.
Right, the wonderful ashy knees and elbows. Well, those are parts of our body that have excess skin. And that's important because those are the joints. We need the excess skin to bend and so forth. But that also allows the buildup of a lot of old dead skin cells. And so those knees and elbows can look excessively dry. So you can reduce that by getting some sort of loofah sponge when you're showering to remove a lot of that old dead skin. You can get some body scrubs. But then as a day-to-day sort of deal, you can look for products that have like dimethicone in there. It's like a silicone base that just really helps to hydrate and trap in some of the moisture in those in the areas like the knees and the elbows, which are more prone to looking dry. But once again, a lot of the dryness is there because it's a lot of the old dead skin that's flaking off, so the skin is looking dry. So that's why the importance of the exfoliation. And then if you use something like the dimethicone body lotions, they will trap in that moisture and actually smooth the surface, and it looks really nice. I mean, of course, a lot of people like the cocoa butters and all of those type. Whatever I say, whatever works best. The less ash, the best, the better.
I was reading something that you had written a while ago about the influence of diet as far as keeping your skin healthy as well.
Yeah, well, I tell folks that you are what you eat. Your outer beauty is a reflection of an inner you. What's going on? We can look at someone's skin and see that they're not getting the proper nutrition, and it will reflect on the way that the skin can look, especially just even something simple as water, because the skin is the largest organ in your body, and 75% of your body is made up of water. So the water is critical. It's going to keep the skin cells hydrated. Nutrients are very important. Fresh fruits and vegetables are critical. All those have great antioxidants and really can give a smoother skin tone. So a lot of folks out there that are having skin issues, definitely reflect on your diet. So that was a great question, George.
So let's wrap up this segment with what are your sort of overall tips to making sure that your skin is healthy and your hair is healthy during these summer months?
Yes, well, as we mentioned earlier, the importance of slathering on that sunscreen every day, SPF of at least 50. The importance of having a skincare routine, George, because a lot of people don't. Some folks are quick to hop in the shower and they'll use the same washcloth that they're using on their body and use that on their face. And that's an absolute no, no, and no. The washcloth is a haven for bacteria. So just imagine you're washing your body and then now you're imparting whatever's on that lovely washcloth onto your beautiful skin. So you want to be, cautious of that. I always say, use your hands. Your hands have a great texture. You put some of your facial cleanser in your hand and you rub it around and then wash it, pat dry. Moisturizing after that is critical. And once again, make sure you have that SPF in there. And just doing that twice a day is very important. Now, one thing that the ladies can do that's an extra added protection is I always say that, the last step in skincare for women to me is powder. You don't have to use a whole bunch of makeup if you don't want to, but the powder traps any of the external debris and bacteria, whatever that's on your hands or what's in the environment, so that seals the pore. So that once you get home to wash it off, you're washing off all of that old debris and bacteria. You wash that off into the sink instead of being able to absorb through your pores. So that's a final step that women can do after they wash their face and moisturize. They can apply a thin layer of powder, and it gives them a finished look as well. Now, during the summertime, let's really stay off of a lot of the heavy makeups and so forth, because they're just going to clog the pores more. Of course, unless we're doing a segment during the hot summer like we're doing now, and we got to get a camera ready. So, of course, we got a little bit more makeup on than usual. But the pores are very important to keep them protected and keep them from getting clogged up, because that doesn't make for pretty skin complexion once the pores are clogged.
This is just terrific. It's great information. It's easy information to absorb, if you will. And frankly, it's the kind of information that keeps you young.
Yes, that's right.
And
I like to keep it simple. I like to just try to explain things, George, in a very simplistic manner, because as much as we know all of these fancy terms that are up here in my brain, I just like to make sure to regurgitate the basic informative information in a simple where a 2-year-old can understand what I'm saying. So as long as I've been able to relay the message like that, it makes me feel great.
Well, I'm a little bit more than 2, and I get it.
Well, you look 22.
and I know our audience will as well. Dr. Mack, thank you so much for joining us.
You're quite welcome. Thank you for having me.
And just don't forget, we've got a couple of websites that you ought to be attuned to. Dr. Mack's website, which is, and that website is now up on the screen. And also you can get all of these tips and more from our website, which is which is aawellnessproject.org, aawellnessproject.org. So through both of those websites, you'll be able to keep your skin and your hair healthy this summer. I'm George Strait. Thanks for joining.